what do you do? And I go through I'm an insurance guy. And then we have somebody interesting, and he tells me his story, and 2 sentences into it, I'm like, this guy's a lot more interesting than me. So I have a formal introduction, which starts with Pat Dwyer needs no introduction if you're his mom. But you're likely not his mom, so we thought we should give you a little bit of context before it takes over. Aside from Pat being a professional speaker, comedian, and writer, Pat has worked, toured, performed, and taught with comedic institutions, the Second City, IO Theater, and Comedy Sports for over 20 years. He's spearheaded leadership teams at a number of tech startups, including Groupon, and has been a key culture, creative, and leadership consultant for multiple Fortune 500 companies. Now that his resume is out of the way, before we begin, I'd also like to note that Pat is a junior park ranger at over 60 national parks, sites, and monuments around the United States. While Pat got all of this after he was 25, it's an honor that is traditionally reserved for 5 to 12-year-olds. Without further ado, fire.
Well, thank you so very much. So I have come today where I thought we'd talk a little bit about zoning. So as I said in the intro, as we said in the intro, I have come from the background of improv comedy, and a lot of that is making it up as we go along. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But before we do, let's talk about this. Who is familiar with We Will Rock You? Anybody? Sure. Let's see. Great, perfect, lovely. I will stop you for yours. Now, here's an interesting thing about that. You don't know me. You don't trust me, nor should you. But the cool thing about this is you did it. One person doing it together. So what I would like to ask, I'm sorry, I'm trying to. I apologize. For today, I would like to ask for us to join each other just a little bit. So boom claps. Somebody else does the boom boom claps, and the first person isn't a crazy person anymore. And then pretty soon we're all doing it together. So what I'm asking for is just for today, although we do it in many instances, but for today, if we join each other in the boom boom claps, and it's over here, right? My clicker is not going to work. This is going to be awesome.
Something. I think sorry.
No, that's okay. Okay, good morning. So if we can join each other in the boom boom claps throughout our lives, and also just today, that will make it fun. There we are. Look at all those boom boom claps. Everybody got the boom boom claps. Okay. Now for the leap, I want to talk about today about innovation, about change, about taking a step that you may not have done in your personal lives, at work, and wherever you find yourselves. So the idea of a leap sounds great, but in truth, we do this every day, all day long, in small micro doses, and that's all that it actually takes to move forward. We're going to talk about that a lot today. But before we do, I want to give you a bit of a TED talk. Now, drink me in, friends. Take me in. Anyone in the room, anyone at home, you prefer? I think they're over here now. Feel free to say what you don't think I know anything about. Give me a topic that I don't know anything about.
Women.
What is this? Back here? Women is fair, but I'm not going to take it. What's this back here? Flowers. You're right. I don't know Disney about flowers. Great. So here's what I'm going to do. I have taken images off the Rotary social media. I've taken about 5 or 6 of them. What I'm going to give you a TED talk is if I am the preeminent person in all of Madison regarding flowers. And I'm going to use your images and talk about that. Now, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me for my TED talk. I really appreciate it. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Now, the clicker is my clicker. This is just not working. Okay. Here, I'll just go over and click the button.
And
It's okay.
I tried to move the camera so we could see more of his front, and I just messed it up.
It's okay, friend.
This is real improv.
This is real improv. Welcome to hell. As you may not know, I am the preeminent person who is in charge of flowers. Now, what we do know about flowers is enumerative, but what you may not know about flowers is that it makes people very happy, as you might have seen in that last slide. Now, I'm going to keep moving forward. Now, people who aren't happy, as we know, come in many shapes and forms. There is the high-end happiness, where somebody will run around town with or without clothes on. There's also those who are just marginally happy, indeed. Now, you'll see a few of these, was there, you'll see a few of these individuals in the picture behind me. Now, let me tell you this, the one thing that I do know about flowers is that they sometimes can get very tall, very, very tall. Now, tall flowers, as we know, block the sun, and no one likes that. Nay, nay. To block the sun is sadness. Pictures are great. Now, some of us may remember from our time in biology class in high school that this is where we try to meet women and it doesn't work out. That's my life. Okay, cool. So no, we don't need that. Now, this is high level. As we see from such wonderful shows as TEDx, Madison, or I'm going to move on. Now, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. We'll just leave it there. That's fine. Thank you. Now, I'm gonna just ignore my slideshow almost entirely. No, that's okay. Try it again. Yeah, I would love to try it again. That'd be great. No. Everything's true. I'm gonna dance around.
Right. Picture of our social media. That's why.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you just
from beginning.
There we go. That's here. Let's do this.
That's
Here we are. Here's some extra slides. Yay! Really easy flower. This is. I'm going to move on for time's sake. This would have been hilarious. There we go. And this is how, just like the flower, we must water our children. Moving on now. Thank you very much. That's great. So what happened there, other than misery and torment, is that I, as an improviser, I have spent 20-something years taking one suggestion and making things up for quite a long time. How do we do that? I'm going to teach you a couple of those tricks today. I'm not going to make you do it, all of you. But we are going to learn some of those tricks. Now, what I do know about that is that I take one small amount of information and I just keep moving forward. And it is a lot of falling while you're going. But we're going to talk about that too. Now, before we do, I want to give you a little context about me, a little larger context. So in 2003, I was recruited recruited the wrong word. I applied and got into the Peace Corps. And I went to Mauritania, West Africa, which is all the way over here. It's a 2-year commitment in the Peace Corps. For those of you who don't know much about the Peace Corps, I spent about 6 months there before I had dysentery. And I got dysentery 3 times in a row. For those of you who don't know what dysentery is, it is miserable. It is, you ingest something that you shouldn't, and your body expels itself in every which direction. I lost 60 pounds in a month and a half. I started to lose motor function. All this wonderful dream that I had about Peace Corps slowly disappeared. So I came home. And when I was in the Peace Corps, a friend of mine, I was in the improv, and a friend of mine said to me, Pat, you know, you're making everybody giggle. If you wanted to serve, wouldn't it be better for you to do something with comedy? And that's not something I was never on my radar. I was hoping to be a fast track to the State Department at that point. But when I got back, I packed a duffel bag. Well, when I got back, I got a little bit better time. But then when I was better enough to move, I packed a backpack and a duffel bag and I moved to Chicago. And I started studying at all these different places, Second City, Comedy Sports, IO Theater, all this other stuff. I toured the country for a few years doing improv. It was really, really fun. I ended up a little bit above the curve, so it felt very much like a calling. As we know from callings, they last only so long. And then you have children and you have to move to Milwaukee. That's what happened. So I moved to Milwaukee, started a family, would still go back and forth to Chicago quite a bit for shows and programs and tours and things like that. But then this happened, COVID. I don't know if anybody's heard of COVID. Yep, it happened. Yep, so in COVID, I was becoming a speaker at that point, and I was doing fairly well for myself, but then the meeting industry disappeared overnight, right? So we decided, let's shelter in place. Let's shelter in a place that moves. So we decided to keep making more changes, to keep innovating, to keep trying new things. So we sold everything that we had. We bought this RV, everything that we had. I had a pod from a house in Brookfield, Wisconsin. We took just a pod of stuff and moved. And we put it all into this RV. This is a real picture of my RV. I happen to be up before the sunrise because I have small children who love to get up before the sunrise. And we spent 9 months in upwards of 30 states around the country. The first part of this route is actually true. If you were to follow the line, then it gets a little wonky. But we saw 30 states in those 9 months. We saw any number of national parks. I actually got to be even more of the Junior Park Ranger. It was great. I got to blame my kids for it, but in truth, it was just about me. Now, moving on. This becomes a muscle. Change, doing new things, trying new things. It is a muscle. The more you do it, the easier it is. We know that from improv. People say, "Oh my gosh, how do you do improv?" It's practice. It is a muscle. The more that I go to the gym, the stronger I get. Clearly, the more you do improv, the more you innovate, the more you change, the more often you get to make that an easier battle. This is not stuff that we do, on rare occasions. You're doing this every single day. You go to the grocery store. We've all been to the grocery store, I would hope. Maybe not that guy, but everybody else. He's like, "Oh, give me something." So at the grocery store, we have to choose several different products. You make that calculation and you move forward, right? Yeah, that's all that this is. We did this calculation about going on the road. I do this calculation on stage 500 times a second. You get better at it. It gets quicker. It gets easier. It's so much fun to just make changes, because here's the thing, you have to start somewhere. You have to. And the more that we get to start somewhere, the more that we get to continue that journey, because the excitement actually comes from that journey. And I'm sure you all know this, but to stand here and go, it's ridiculous. Like this, for instance, this pizza man, this great little pizza man is a good example. I Googled change. And for some reason on the first page of Google is this pizza man. I don't know why. But I will tell you, now he's a gift for me. He's a little teeny gift that sells my presentation. But I get to talk about, like, this was a mistake, perhaps, or was it a gift? So this is the key to this mindset. If you can redefine hindrances, if you can redefine trouble, if you can redefine good things as gifts, then you can use them when necessary. You can use them when needed. So in improv, as we're doing all of this improvising, some fool, inevitably will say something that is going to throw all of us for a loop. There are upwards of 10, 15 people on stage at a time. We have talked about nothing. But if I say, this is a wonderful space station that we're in, what a great space station. And somebody later says, I'm so happy we're at the Mall of America. That's not something that denies what we've already said and already established and all this great stuff that we've already talked about. Now it becomes a gift of the fact that we are actually in the Mall of America, in a space station, in the Mall of America, and we get to explore now not only the space station, but also the mall. It's a gift. And if we give ourselves that permission to make things gifts, we give ourselves permission to explore the world in a different way every day. So here's an example of a gift. Starbucks is a gift to all of us. No, sorry. So at Starbucks, my name is Pat Dwyer. Pat Dwyer, right? We've all heard that. We've heard that quite a few times today. It is very hard for me to now not hear the word Pat Dwyer, and I hope that's the same for you. This is true, not 8 times out of 10. I swear to goodness this is true. When I go to Starbucks and I say, what's your name? My name is Pat Dwyer. My name is Pat. How about that? My name is Pat. Todd. I don't know why. I don't know how, but it is a consistency. Absolute consistency. So much so that I am expecting this now. More than, I don't know what I say about Pat that sounds anything like Todd, But it is, my wife has started looking for Todd drinks when they don't come out. And when they say Todd, you better know I'm walking around going, yeah, who likes Todd? This guy Todd, right? Just all over the place, bouncing around, so excited. Admittedly, I look to make sure somebody else is actually. But it's a gift. It's fun. And this is a part of my day that I now look forward to, where I could very easily get very frustrated with this. Have I looked myself in the mirror and practiced the name Pat a whole bunch? Yeah. Does it matter? No, it does not. It does not matter. I even went to Disney World. That was at Disney World. Not a joke. I tried. I was like, can I just get a picture? They're like, there's one already there, Todd. I'm like, oh, come on. My wife was like, what are you doing? I was like, they told me to go to the concert. My wife was like, that totally makes sense. I'm like, what am I saying? So everything is a gift. As we're falling from the sky, the thing that they don't tell us is that there is the landing space is way softer than this. There's beanbag chairs, there's beds, there's stuffed animals. There's all sorts of things that are soft. Any number of things that are soft there on the ground. And when there isn't, there is our friends and family to hold us when we need that and to give us that softness. My grandma is very squishy. I'll land on her all the time. Jokes. Nobody does that. Why would you land on her? Look at it, she's lovely. The irony here is that we talk about the ground. We talk about the landing. Truth be told, there is no land. There never is. We've been falling since we were babies. All of us. There's no stability. It doesn't exist. There's no going back. It doesn't exist. Because the moment we learn something, the moment we change. And the moment we grow, and the moment we get better. And become the new person that we are. So people in organizations that I work with all over the country, the misnomer is like, well, we'll just go back. If this change or this innovation doesn't work, we'll just go back. You can't. Because in that moment of decision, we've already changed our story. Similarly to improv, as we're moving forward, we say, well, we'll just go back to the main storyline, we'll figure it out. But you can't, because we're always inventing. All of us in the room are always inventing. Every moment, moment to moment. So it's not a matter of landing, it's only ever a matter of falling. And we can see the ground, but then you think of a new thing and you go laterally and just keep falling into a dark chasm. Right? Constant falling. Now, with the falling is things that make it easier. Happiness, great example. So here's something that I found that I find very, very interesting. 51% of happiness is on you. It is not genetic. It is not based on the pyramid of needs or the hierarchy of needs. It's not. We choose 51% of the time to be happy. And sadly, it's not about half full or half empty. I think it might be about the glass. Is the glass layer? And then you can choose to determine what it is. If you choose to go happiness, great. Because there's lots in there that you can do. This, in fact, is a list of everything that happiness can provide for us from a medical background. I'm not going to talk about this very much. I want to put it up here. This is just the stuff I could research and find sources. But there's a lot out there. I mean, thank God for the internet. There's a lot out there that is not real. But this is accurate. Now, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, endorphins. When you laugh for 5 seconds, these chemicals are flooded into your brain. There are 2 activities that will accomplish this task in one fell swoop. What are they? Sex and laughing. Sex is, we're going to call it falling in love, right? Falling in love. There's another one. There's another one that's laughing does this. There's one more activity that will flood your brain with all of these at the same time. Birth? No, but yeah, not for me. Anybody else? Doing cocaine. That's the only other one. Doing a bunch of cocaine. So let's stick with falling in love or having a baby. How about that? I will work on this again slowly. Now, the thing we can't see it down here, but an average adult laughs gives ourselves the chance to laugh only 17 times a day. And this is a sustained 5 seconds worth of laughter. But 17 times a day, a child laughs 300 times a day on average. Here's the thing, they don't tell you about all of these chemicals. It opens our brains to receiving information on a massive scale. You know, one of the reasons why children learn so quickly? It's because they laugh. It is because they are able to laugh. In a corporate training environment, retention jumps to 45% higher than any previous statistic because of laughter. If I get people laughing in a room, they remember the information. That's a really, really neat thing. If you are allowing yourself to laugh, you are allowing yourself to learn. They recently came out with a study in regards to Alzheimer's and laughter, and Alzheimer's and creativity and laughter. And they showed definitively that people who laugh more often have less of a chance of Alzheimer's than people who don't. There's a definitive correlation between laughter and these chemicals and fighting that type of effect. Really, really exciting stuff. Now, admittedly, giving people pills for laughing, it's a different thing. Cocaine. Let's talk about cocaine. So I want to give you some tangible takeaways in regards to this process and how to make this easier for you. So I'm using the mnemonic leap because that's what they came in for. Now, for L, I want to say, let yourself join in. We talked a little bit about it with something's happening. Nope, it's okay, things are great. We talked a little bit about it with the boom boom claps, jumping in, giving yourself an opportunity to join other people will start that flood of chemicals in your brain because it inevitably will create laughter. And that pose in your body where your whole posture changes when you start to join other people. Everything is a gift. Redefining those gifts will help you get there. Will help you make this easier. Answer yes. Now, this is an improv trick. So in improv, the way that we move things forward in our scenes is to say yes and. Has anybody heard that before? Yeah? Great. So we say yes to each other just to agree, because as soon as we say no, everything stops, right? We say yes, and then we build upon that. So I'm on that space station. Right? Oh, I love this space station. It's so great. Yes, and the space station is made of cheese. Yes, and that cheese is fromage dauphinois. I don't know. So we are always building forward. For our lives, with that no or with that but, using the word but, what is but? But is nothing more than Midwestern no. And by that I mean you're saying, well, your idea is really great. Mine's about to be better. Yeah, I know. So removing the word but from your vocabulary, removing the word no, excuse me, from your vocabulary is going to be very powerful in allowing yourself to move forward, allowing yourself to take that leap, allowing yourself to make that step. It's pretty exciting stuff. And then finally, positively go for it. So as we are talking about half glass full, half glass empty, all that thing, that optimism, that choice towards optimism, that choice towards happiness is going to be key in helping you move forward on small or big decisions. It does not matter. Now, here's what I would like to do. Let's see what time is it. Yeah, we've got some time. So I would like 4 people to join me up here, if you would. 4. I need 4. This will be very safe and easy, I promise. 4 of you, come on up. Right here. I got 2. I need 2 more. Okay. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Go. Lovely. Go ahead and get in a line for me. Give them a round of applause. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you this microphone when I'm done speaking. But yeah, thank you. Now, this game that we're going to play here is called Dr. Know-It-All. For those of you who might be familiar with this, some of you may not. The way that this game works is I'm going to come to you, the audience, for a question that you've always wished you know. Now, the doctor behind me here knows every answer to everything because this doctor has 4 heads where 1 would normally suffice. Here's the problem with these 4 heads. Each of these individuals can only answer 1 word at a time. So they're going to create a sentence going down the line to Adam and then back around to, to Jay. So, we're gonna just keep going around until your sentence has been completed, your question is answered. You got it? We're good. Okay, so.
Okay.
They're off.
Oh,
Oh, there it's.
Oh, we only got unplugged when we did all that stuff. Oh, no. Sorry, friends at home. Should have been here. Okay. So, for starters, from this group here, give me a question you always wish you knew the answer to.
Why do they always ask you if you want ketchup, but they don't ask you if you want tartar sauce, so they give it to you?
This sounds like a personal question, but that's okay. We'll go for it. Now, I'm gonna hand this down. The question for those who might be from home and might not have heard that are, why do they give you ketchup where you really wish they could have given you tartar sauce or any number of other? That's what the question is now. Oh,
Tartar sauce,
Nice. Creamy. It's
moist,
nice. Ketchup. Sucks.
perfect and very succinct. Cool. What we're gonna do now, here's a great tip. Here's a trick and a tip. First, recap the question, then answer it. It'll make your life a whole bunch easier. Now, give me one more question for anybody here.
Meaning of life.
What is the meaning of life?
The
Wow, okay.
meaning,
buzz. Life is
profound.
sometimes, but
Strangely.
Simple.
sometimes. But
Also.
Weighty.
furthermore,
Pop-outs.
Suck.
Okay, so I want to process this, a couple things here, lovely, wonderful. Two things that I noticed that happened here that I want to talk about for the sake of taking steps forward. For starters, so Susan and Susan, were doing their best here, and, Jay was like, come on, do the thing I want you to do, right? So what might we have taken from our second person in line by forcing them into action? Sometimes it's okay to just let it happen because we're removing ourselves from those gifts by putting people in positions they don't need to be. Similarly, when we're going down the line, right, there's a panic mode. Everybody goes, I gotta keep this sentence going forever and always, right? What if we just stop and breathe and finish the sentence? And then we get to do more of the game. So think about that and make that for yourself in regards to your life. But I will say this, let's do this. Let's stand a little bit close together, shoulder to shoulder even. And when you are done with the sentence, I want you to bow as a group. Got it? Make your lives even easier. Give me one more question from anybody.
Why do we have?
That's a great question. Why do we have two nostrils?
We.
through
Our.
Mouth.
which helps
Moisturize.
Nostrils.
Great. Thank you. Give a big round of applause. Yeah, you can go ahead. Thank you, Fred.
All to be answer your question.
No, There are no true answers to any of these questions. So what we notice about that game, often when everybody lines up, and this was a little different because I think 2 or 3 people told George to bow, which is fine. But what we notice from that is that we not unlike giving somebody the answer to their part, by making somebody else bow, we might be removing gifts from that conversation too. That could have come out, that could have been the key to making this all work or fail or whatever else. So let's assume work. Now, do you know that when you're about the world, that maybe we are putting ourselves in a position where we're yelling at somebody to bow, where we're giving them the answer where we don't need that, and we're removing their goodness from the conversation. Cool. So that pretty much does it for me. I want to thank you for having me today. If you have a phone and you'd like to scan this QR code, aside from the fact that you will get this quick exercises for your meetings with explanations on how to do it, it's actually, this QR code is actually a survey for me to know if I am terrible at this or not. So if you could tell me how terrible I am, that would be excellent. I would like that. Certainly no pressure, but if you could do that, that would be great. And you can find me at patdwyerwastaken.com because patdwyer.com was taken by someone else. So I bought Pat Dwyer was taken. So that you know. Thank you so much. I believe there's a Q&A. If you guys have Q&A or questions, yes, sir. Can you have $25? Sure, why not? I see what you're doing. You're entrapping. You can have $25 from anyone else in the room. What else? Any other questions about what we talked about today? Yeah.
I guess what's your typical audience?
My typical audience is variable. Because I toured for so long doing improv, this program is some of the meat in the larger program that I do. And I did recently 1,200 people in an auditorium. I also did 7 in a boardroom. So it's all over the board. And luckily, because of my experience, I'm pretty good at any room. I mean, that sounds very vicious. I mean, you can pretty much put me anywhere. Yeah, go ahead.
We do that game when we go camping and we meet new people and we do story runs. A really great way to it's kind of an icebreaker to getting to know people and getting to know. So what we do is typically we'll say why is Roger so tall, my husband? And then they have to answer that question. And it's really fun to put people in the question because the answers that you get are they're hilarious. And going around a campfire is
It's super fun. Well, I mean,
very fun.
campfire games are now 90% of party board games are all improv games that people have monetized. It drives me nuts because I should have done it first. You have a question?
Do you get nervous?
Every time. I get nervous every time. Or so a lot of speakers will say that they do programs or that they're doing a presentation. I am only ever in the mindset that I do a show because my goal is to make you guys giggle in some capacity. So for me, I always get nervous. When I was on the road, I did upwards of 375 shows a year, sometimes more than that. And it was every week I'd find myself in a bathroom prior to a show. Curling lunch, just because I get nervous. I mean, my wife this morning, knowing that I was coming here, are you okay? I'll be fine. I just need to get there, and then I'll feel a lot better about it. But you have a question back here?
Outside of what you just talked about, the nerves and the technical studies that happen over here.
Sure.
What's your best show must go on? I overcame this.
Ooh, the show must go on overcoming. Oh, well, how about this action? So I was in a show and I'm a portly gentleman, as you at home can tell. I had, when I was in high school, I hurt my knee. Here's a really embarrassing story. I was playing golf and I drove and I put my weight on my knee incorrectly and it swung this way. And I fell down a hill and popped back into the which was, I recommend for anyone, especially the falling down the hill part. That was good. But I was in a show and I don't know how it happened. We were, one of the shows that I used to tour with was called Mission Improbable. And we're secret agents of comedy, real high level. But we would run about the theaters in the dark. And I was at a university, I think it was actually Rotary in Chicago, but they hadn't, there's a thing called glow tape in theater that, you know, you can see the stage and you can see the steps. We did not glow tape the step that they painted black. And I was running in the dark and I went straight down and my ankle rolled and my knee went out of joint. My kneecap went on the wrong side of my knee. And I had to actively drag myself on stage and then sit in a chair and finish the show. That's how we entered the stage. So that would probably be the biggest upward battle I had. From a tech standpoint, the tech stuff's it's consistently an issue. So luckily I'm good enough to say like, cool, I've got 900 improv games. Let's play those instead. So, oh yeah, I'll go here first and I'll come back to you.
What did you do at Second City?
So at Second City, I started by classes, and then I ended up, they hired me to do lights for them for a while. And then I ended up teaching there and performing there. They did improv sets and shows. I did probably 5 or 6 sketch shows with them. I did my sketch show there. It's a group called Patty that he's working that for those. And then I just went back a couple weeks ago because one of my friends, my old director for my sketch show, is now in charge of all the artistic direction for Second City. But she ended up directing the main stage show, so we're all back to food. Yeah, George. Our hecklers are always a bit, but not in the way you think. I think for me, a heckler is a problem because it slows down the forward progression, and then you have to deal with it. Comedy sports is probably the easiest, is where you get hecklers the most. Yeah, well, there's drinking, yes. But, I mean, even in college, kids are all about joining in. A lot of the corporations, they have to be there, so you don't get a lot of hecklers for that. The comedy sports was always that format that people weren't sure if it was stand-up or if it was theater. And so we'd get a lot of people like giving really loud suggestions. And it's hard to chastise somebody for loving what's happening. Hey, shut up. I know you're having fun. Like that's hard to do, right? So you have to figure out a way to make them part of it so that they enjoy what's happening. So hecklers for me has always been like, cool, now we're friends. Let's figure out. So I experience it. There's always one. There's always a few. But for the most part, making somebody part of a larger storyline is always something. Does that answer your question? Oh boy. Well, here, back here. We haven't got back here yet.
I'm curious what you think of Saturday Night Live, where, you know, obviously they're coming up with this stuff and then perform it, as opposed to what you're doing. You have sort of a concept and then you take it, and, you know, what's the process and how is this different?
Well, ironically enough, Second City uses improv to generate sketch material. In the offices at Saturday Night Live, they are sitting in their offices goofing around. They're doing improv to generate sketch material. Most of the people who are at SNL are back in Second City or the Groundlings, which is roughly the same thing in LA. I have a lot of friends who work for SNL, and it's just goof around time, and most of it comes out of the rush. And they, come to the table with 60 ideas, and they take away. So everybody gets cut. There's a lot of hierarchy there. But from a generating material place, I think the difference between SNL and a sketch show that you might see at Second City or something like that is just practice. So SNL has to create it, know it's funny, and move forward, and then create a new one the next week. With a lot of the sketch shows, you get to work on the nuance. It becomes more like stand-up comedy. Stand-up comedy is written and rehearsed and practiced and musical in its style. So you have to redefine different jokes, and even the way that you say it will change. For instance, my presentation today, I presented it in a different order than I normally do because I was wondering what would happen. You don't need to know that. So I think from my sketch show, for instance, we would always generate using improv, and mostly that was us playing video games and goofing around, and Like, for instance, I have a scene in our sketch show that we toured with for a long time. You a punching, are you familiar with the punching nun puppets? So it looks like a nun, but it has punching gloves. And we had this scene which was us generated it from the couch of us being complete nitwits, where my friend kept turning it towards him and making him punch him in the face. He's like, "Stop it!" And then he ultimately would like smother the puppet because it's got a little face. They're like, "Stop punching me!" And then we just like drop it on the ground. And we did it because we thought it was hysterical when we were sitting on the couch. In the audience, it was one of our hardest hitting sketches. We would always have people come up and like, "Ooh, you have problems with the Catholic Church, right?" We're like, no, no. We did the scene. We just, but it's those types of things that are those gifts, those ridiculous things that happen. You're like, oh, we can totally turn this into something. Let's do that. So that was that's probably the difference, I would guess. Question, yeah.
Real quick question. Who's the most popular person, famous person in your phone?
In my phone?
Yeah.
Oh, who is in my phone? I don't know. Let's not name drop. There's a lot of people on my phone. My favorite comedian is Brian Regan. Brian Regan, yeah, he's predominantly clean. He's stand up. He's hysterical. He's very much a journeyman in regards to like he takes you on these storylines. If you look at Brian Regan, yeah, it's really good. Anybody else? Any other questions? No, thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
Love it.
And you missed a salute. There we go. Pat, for all of our speakers, we make a contribution to Rotary International's M Polio Plus Fund. We'll do the same in your honor. So thank you, everybody, for being here. Next week, Dave Schrader, UW professor, is here as a subject matter expert on information technology, cybersecurity, and cyber national security issues. Come with your questions, because I think when it comes to national security things, I think that's he researches that. He will be here to do a presentation on cybersecurity today. Thank you for being present in person and on Zoom. And remember, service above self. Have a great Rotary week, everybody.
Bring you back.